Hello and welcome to the Pod of the Damned. I'm your host, Ian. Joining me, as always, I say as always, for the first time in like 3 weeks, is my co-host, Nico. How's it going, buddy?
I'm good, how are you?
I am good. How was your holiday?
Fucking great, badly needed.
Badly
I'm regretting coming back.
Wow. To all the listeners out there, that's Nico basically saying, fuck you guys.
They have the internet in Czech Republic, it's fine.
No, but feel good to come back, get all nice and refreshed.
I felt amazing for, I've had 1 week back to work and it's hell.
Yeah, well, you had that nice relaxing time. We were all going through hell. You know, we didn't get a break, but it's fine. It's fine, Nico. It's fine. You just come back all nice and refreshed. I'm expecting you to just is that just a leg?
Hi!
I'm just expecting you to, just carry the fucking show for the next couple of weeks while I, slowly go insane.
Well,
but it's fine.
you suffer.
Well, I suffer, yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, welcome back. A quick little bit of housekeeping from our last episode, as well. If you were hanging about on, I can't even remember what day it was. We broadcasted it. I think it was Friday. Possibly.
Okay.
I think it was Friday. Me and Anna broadcasted our latest episode on Saw 10. If you didn't catch that and you want to check it out, we released the podcast episode of that today, so you can get that on the podcast platforms. Also, during that live episode, K-Lamp gave us a nice little 6-month subscription, so just a quick little shout out to her as well, because that happened just after we ended the live stream. So thank you very much to Kate, who also hung around for most of that stream. If you would like to support this podcast on our social media platforms, you can do so. We're on X at Damned Podcast. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Pod of the Damned. You can email us at podofthedamned@gmail.com, and you can subscribe to us to Patreon, which is patreon.com/Pod of the Damned. I got it right, Nico. What's going on off camera there? Because your cat seems intently interested in something.
Annie was attacking my foot. I've got two cats.
It's cat. It's the second cat. Okay.
Yeah.
Just
Sheila was basically looking to go, is he gonna attack him? Is he gonna attack him? And he fucking did.
Well, he's a cat. What do you expect?
Yeah. He's ran away now that I squeaked.
Okay.
I do have a hole in my fucking toe now. So.
In your actual toe?
Yeah, a big toe right in the centre. He did it with his claw. He's literally just went like that to a big toe and just burst my toe.
Bless him. Anyways, we are, for those who don't know, a horror podcast that deep dives into a different topic every single week in our quest to create a leaderboard of the best and worst horror movies of all time. This is episode number 90, and in today's show we're talking all about Eden Lake. It feels like I've been saying we're getting really close to that 100th episode for a long time now. We're only 10 episodes away, but it feels like I've been saying that for fucking months. Now it's starting to feel like it is quite far away. We'll be at our Christmas episodes by the time we get to episode number 100. But
yeah,
over the course of the October season, obviously it's spooky season, we will be doing Halloween-themed, Halloween-specific episodes, just like we did last year. I can't remember what did you pick last year for Halloween? I picked Trick or Treat, but I can't remember.
I picked Trick or Treat.
Was it you that picked Trick or Treat? So what the fuck did I pick? Hold on, I'm
pretty sure I picked Trick or Treat.
You just hold on, because I've got Trick or Treat. Where are you? Oh no! I definitely picked Trick or Treat, because the next movie we did, you did that on fucking purpose, because you knew fine fucking well. Because you picked Hubie Halloween, you fucking dick.
What? I picked Trick or Treat.
Aye, okay. In fairness, if I was you, I'd want to, distance myself from that pick as much as possible as well. Anyways, we'll be doing the same thing this year. I've already made my pick. The listeners have already made their pick. It was very close. The listeners got the option of a few different Halloween movies. And it was very close between Halloween 4 and Terrifier 2. For what the listeners wanted to review. Pipping it out, I think it was literally by 2 votes. And it was Terrifier 2 that won. So we'll be doing that
Yeah.
as the listener pick. Luckily for those who voted Halloween 4, I've picked Halloween 4 as my Halloween pick. So we'll be doing them both anyway. And Nico, you've still to pick yours, so that can be a reveal for later on. But at least Terrifier 2, which I've already had Wren, who was on our Terrifier episode, point blank refused to come back on the show to review that movie. I was like, okay, that's fine. Because, you know,
That's not a good sign.
he hates it. It's not. It's nothing to do with us. It's nothing to do with us as a show. It's to do with the choice of movie. Anywho, so that's coming up at Halloween. Don't forget as well, the nominations are currently open for our year-end horror awards. We've been broadcasting and posting those across our social media platforms so far throughout the first week of October. We will be continuing to do that. Nominations in all of our categories will be open until Halloween. And then as we go through to November, it's voting season. So Nico, you need to start thinking about who you're putting in the Hall of Fame this year.
Yeah.
You know, we've obviously, this is our third season of horror awards. We've got 9 different awards this year. We've got 2 new ones for 2023. So as always, our standard awards, which were best movie / series, best director, best lead performer, best supporting performer, most unexpected success, best cinematography, and our horror hall of fame. But 2 new categories this year. We will also be giving out awards for the best score or soundtrack in a horror movie, and best kill / death scene. So the nominations have been coming in. We've already received hundreds of votes, and we've still got, I think, just over 3 weeks left of voting. So get your votes in. There's surveys across our social media. We'll be posting threads for each of the individual awards across our social media as well. Just to say quick hello to Krista in the chat, who's just popped in. Hello, hello. Hope you're doing well. But Nico, shall we get on with today's movie topic?
Let's go for it.
Let's go for it. We are talking all about Eden Lake. This movie was released in 2008, was written and directed by James Watkins, and stars Kelly Riley, Michael Fassbender, and Jack O'Connell. The IMDb plot is as follows. Refusing to let anything spoil their romantic weekend break, a young couple confront a gang of loutish youths with terrifyingly brutal consequences. Before we get into it, as we'll do as we always do, Nico, you are aware of our leaderboard. I'm assuming you've not listened to the Saw 10 episode, so just to throw it out there, just for your context as well, Saw 10 got an average rating of 7.8 and landed in 20th place on the leaderboard.
Nice. I've not seen it yet, so
well,
I'll watch it first before I do the
Yeah, of course. But to put it into context, Saw, the original, is currently in 33rd on our leaderboard, so it's surpassed the original.
That's always a good sign.
So, just to throw that out there. But anyways, given all of that, where do you think Eden Lake is going to rank on our leaderboard? Give us your predictions. What do you think everyone's going to guess? You're usually pretty good at this, to be fair. There's not often that you're like wildly
I have been recently.
wrong. It's not often that you're wildly wrong.
Oh.
Not with the guesses anyway. Sometimes with your opinions.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. Just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean to say I'm wrong. Everybody's got an arsehole as well as a fucking opinion, and you're my arsehole, so it's fine.
Aw, thanks. Anyways, your predictions.
See, this is a weird movie, because when I first watched it, I was definitely bigger on it than I am now.
Okay.
So I remember what folk were saying when it came out as well. So I'm guessing probably about a 6.5 out of 10 ish.
6.5 out of 10.
So, yeah,
Sorry, I totally wasn't looking at my phone there. A 6.5 would put it in 53rd place out of 86. This is the 86th movie that we've covered.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, well, we'll see at the end of the episode whether you're right or wrong. Let us know, though, if you're floating about the chat, let us know what you think about Eden Lake. Feel free to have your tuppence worth about anything that me and Nico decide to say over the course of this episode. Let us know your thoughts, scores, whatever it is. Please feel free to pop that into the chat. Provide me and Nico with some extra discussion points. Although I think we've got quite a lot to discuss about this movie. You said there in your that you're not as high potentially on this movie as you maybe once were.
Yeah,
Why?
because
What?
I'd only seen this once before,
Okay.
and I thought it was really good the first time I watched it. But then this next time I watched it, yeah, it's well acted by a few of them, but there's a lot more nitpicky bits in it now, if you know what I mean.
Okay. Well, fire away. Nitpick. Go nitpick.
Like, for example, the bit where he goes into the guy's house, there's no need for any of that shit, really.
What? Just like the whole scene in
It's
general.
Yeah, it's just fucking shit. I'm not a big fan of that scene now. You know what I mean?
Well, it's funny you bring up that scene because that
Because
scene is definitely in my notes, and it's more because I think. I mean, we will obviously get on to discussing the themes in that, but one of the big themes about this is the class divide, right? That's the big
yeah,
sort of theme of this movie is the class divide, and how
uh,
it's and one of the big criticisms I've seen across the web. I sound really old there. The web. um,
the interweb.
the internet. One of the big criticisms I've seen is that this is quite. It obviously gives very poor portrayals of working class people, and this potentially is going to be coming from the viewpoint of middle class people. And as I am somebody who considers myself to be extremely working class, Nico,
So
I'm sure you're the same. And we could honestly say that this is not a true representation of all middle class people. It's not. But the thing is, I think the thing is as well. It's not even just a case that it's not a true representation of middle class people. In every class of society, you have people who are as abhorrent as the people in this movie,
yes,
and it goes
like
like.
you.
Right.
Perfect example is right. The main antagonist in it. He is one of those guys. If you're working class, you know the cunt that tries to bully other folk into doing shit, and he is that guy.
Oh yeah, 100%. We've all
He's
met
he's
someone like
that
him.
type of guy. Exactly. He's that type of guy that, oh yeah, let's just steal sweeties at a shop when they're really young. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? And 9 times out of 10, he'll steal a fucking chomp, and everybody else will steal a handful of sweeties, and he'll divvy it up himself. Everyone's even, and he's done fuck all to get. He's a scummy bastard.
yeah,
That's
100.
exactly what he is. But you get them in every class. It's
Yeah,
just he happens to be working class one.
yeah, 100%. You definitely get it in every class. What I will say is though, but going back to that scene that you were talking about him walking into the house, that did kind of feel like middle class privilege. Like he just walked into someone's fucking house, and I'm not being funny.
Yeah,
If I came home and there was just a strange fucking man in my house, I don't think I'd be best fucking pleased about it.
yeah,
Regardless of whether the fucking
like
door is open or not, you don't just walk into someone's house.
exactly. And like this movie, right? The whole catalyst of it all is the dog getting killed, which is where it really bumps up the escalation of everything. And I remember folks saying, "Oh, that would never happen." I'm like, I came folk that care more for their dogs than they care for you.
I don't even think
You
it's a
get what I
case
mean?
of
If you're,
I don't even think it's a case of, people just not believing that that catalyst would ever happen. I also, it's that thing, like, we've all known those people who, once something goes, like, a lot, that bit too far, like, well, you might as well just fucking go all the way, you know?
yeah,
There's no, like, once a line is crossed, it's like there's no going back. And we all know people like that.
yeah. You all know that guy. If there's a fucking fight that's happened, you need to pull him out of it because he's gonna stay there until the coppers lift him if you don't.
Yeah,
And that's whether he's winning or losing the fight.
yeah. Now, throughout this movie, there's I mean there's multiple potential causes for the kids' behavior in this movie. Now, during like the first act where before anything gets taken too far and they're just being generally wee shits, right? Like the
Uh,
scene at the lakeside where they won't turn down their music, they're being loud, they're being brash, and just generally a pain in the arse. At that point,
yeah, the young girl saying, "Are you staring at my tits?" Straight away, try and make it about fucking sex to fucking put the guy off ease.
yeah.
So the whole thing about it, yeah,
And then obviously them making feel our main character, Jenny, feel uncomfortable. They're spying on her through the binoculars and gets his balls out
yeah,
when he goes past, and it's all just generally fucking shitty behavior. But at that point in the movie, you know, you literally could justify that by being like, it's just fucking kids, you know.
Kids being cunts, basically, and
Kids
that
be
happens all
yeah.
the time.
We've all sat on a fucking bus, like when there's fucking kids up the back being little fucking shits, screaming, playing music really loud. Like we've all experienced. Now I'm not saying we've maybe necessarily experienced it to the level that's happened in this movie, like, but we've all sat there in a public environment and experienced kids being little shits.
And it's a cockle of kids, and it gets worse and worse.
Is that actually
Like,
the definitive term for a group of kids?
no, a band of shits is what I would call them.
Well, I kind of want to name for. I need to look that up now.
A group of kids is called a culling if you've got a car.
It's a
No,
Jesus Christ. Nico's just mass killing kids. A pack, a herd, or even a gaggle.
a gaggle.
A gaggle
of kids.
So you actually weren't that far off.
But yeah, they're little cunts.
But the line, like you say, definitely gets crossed. You know, I mean, I'd say the line gets crossed before the dog gets killed. You know, as soon as this, like, the slashing of the tires happens, for me, that's the line that's been crossed. Because everything up until that point has just been words. You know, it's just been them, like, trading words and insults back and forth, and then they actually do something to.
But I could easily see the car thing happen.
Oh yeah, I could see it happen, but for me, that's the line. That's where it's like, right, this is now gone. This has now gone too far. Do you think?
Yeah, I agree. It went too far for the burst of tire, but it goes even further when they steal it. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, like, but I mean, it's also like people sitting there and being like, "Oh, well, this is portraying working class people in a really bad light." You've got the middle class people here in Steve and Jenny, blah blah blah, and all this. If you were in Steve and Jenny's shoes, though, what would you do?
Well, for a start, you would be getting over and saying fucking turn in your radio and shit like that. Because to be honest, that's just kids being fucking kids.
But this is the thing.
They're looking for you to be a dick. They're looking for someone to be their fucking focus away from each other. So playing that and doing that is playing right into their cards. So I wouldn't do that for a fucking start. I'd just be like, just fucking ignore them. They're dickheads.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, you know, I personally wouldn't have gone over and said anything as well. Not only that, like, yeah, they're kids, but they're not like young kids. These are these are what were we saying, like 15, 16-year-olds?
These are the kids that are trying their luck to get in town underage.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
and that's the worst ones out the lot.
Yeah, we're not talking about the fucking 10-year-olds where there's a group of fucking 10-year-olds. You maybe could go up and just be like, here, stop being wee fucking shits, turn your fucking music down, or fuck off. These are like 15 and 16-year-olds, so these are like young adults. And as obviously we see throughout the movie, these are young adults who, you know, will have somewhat of like a physical presence. He's massively outnumbered as well. There's like, what, 7, 8 of them and one of him. Yeah. Well, two, obviously, because Jenny, you've got him and Jenny. But, you know, if that came to like a physical altercation, they're getting their fucking arses kicked.
Exactly. So that's the thing about it, right? They've all got blades and everything, and this is around about a time when knife crime was very, very high. Mm-hmm. So that's like, I've heard folks say, "Oh, you wouldn't see kids that age carrying blades," and I'm like, back then you fucking did.
Yeah, I mean, you probably still do in certain parts of the country.
Exactly.
Knife crime in Britain has not gone away. It's still very much prevalent. So, you know, it's probably something that's still applicable today. But it's interesting that you say as well, you know, this is that sort of time period where, you know, kids were going around with blades and that, because this movie has been cited as being one of the sort of example movies of quote unquote broken Britain. And I'm sure you remember, you know, back in the late noughties when broken Britain was a phrase
thrown around in every circumstance.
Yeah, it's politically used by mostly the Conservatives, I believe, you know, to describe this sort of. And it was an attack on the working class from the Tories, which is what a shock that is. But it was basically around, broken homes, children not being brought up properly, this idea of the class divide. And this movie has been criticized heavily for potentially like perpetuating that sort of divide between working and middle class people by sitting there saying that, this is how working class people are. I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that. I think this is potentially more just, this is this situation. I don't think this movie is making a comment that this is what all working class people is like. But I think what this is more of a comment on is saying when you get a community of people who potentially feel abandoned by their government, or, sort of not supported or left, struggling financially potentially, although they all have like nice houses in the countryside here. So how working class are these people? Because, like that's also the thing that I was kind of like sort of struggling with in this movie, because they have like really nice houses in the countryside.
Yeah, they've got big houses. There's
So,
no way that working class has got that size of houses.
and obviously we never really get explicitly told what some of their jobs are. We know one of them works in the local cafe. You get the guy who comes home in the van, who's obviously some sort of builder,
Like a
or
roofer or
a
something, I think.
roofer, or something to do with like construction. But I wouldn't still necessarily say that these are particularly working class jobs. Like, yourself.
Well, yeah,
Yourself.
not,
Someone
but
who is like, if you've got a
the
trade,
thing is,
yourself as a Sparky. If you've got a trade, like you for the potential to go out there and make really good money.
yeah, but it's not really the money part that makes you working class or middle class. It's the upbringing and the crowds that you hang about with, really.
Yeah.
Because, for example, I grew up in Maastricht, in Aberdeen. That was a very, very rough area when I grew up there.
Well, I grew up. Well,
And
I grew up in Tory, so I'm right there.
yeah,
I'm right there
so
with you.
right there with me, yeah. So, like, the only two that were probably worse than that is like Tilly and Sunderland, probably.
Oh, I was born in Tilly.
Or
oh, I'm just like the commonest of the common.
Have you got Logie as well?
No, I don't.
Oh,
but no, you're right. You're right. Definitely right. Quick hello out.
Yeah, so I'm not like middle class, and yet I stay definitely in a middle class area now.
Yeah, I don't.
But would you see me hanging around with half the folk there? No danger. I still hung out with my mates that were working class.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
I am the rough in the area, I think.
You're the rough in every area, Nico. You're everyone's bit of rough. Quick shout out to Z in the chat, who's just popped in. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoy our review. Feel free to get your thoughts in the chat. It's interesting, you say like obviously it's more about the sort of people who you surround yourself with, the people who's in your social groups, the people, and the sort of behaviors. Because one thing we do hear in this movie, especially in that sort of last scene, and especially in any sort of scene where the parents are involved, is this sort of we look after our own mantra, if you will. Like they all sort of go, we don't need to get anyone else involved. This is our problem. We'll deal with it. We'll sort ourselves out. We'll sort our own kids out. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, we don't need the cops type thing. And there's a lot of working class people that are like that because they don't trust police.
But that's the thing. It's a trust thing, isn't it? And again, this goes back to this whole point that we're trying to make about, this movie's making a comment on the class divide. But is this because they've been failed multiple times by police, by the government, by, everything else, by councils and things like that? They're constantly been failed by the people who are supposed to be there to help and support them.
No.
So again, it just raises the question when it comes to movies like this. Look, ultimately, the kids are to blame, right? They are the ones who did this. Well, I say ultimately.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Ultimately, Brett is to blame, right? Not. I wouldn't even put as much blame on the rest of the kids, and we'll get into that, when we maybe talk about some more specifics. But there's a whole host of reasons I think why this sort of community act and behave the way they do, and it is through that sort of distrust of police, distrust of government sort of thing. The movie has a message, I think, that is much grander than what we're actually seeing on screen.
It's like he's basically like a Marilyn Manson type character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's if you notice, he's the one that tends not to do stuff to folk. He's the one that orchestrates it.
Well, yeah, literally.
He's
Well,
that
we can
type of
talk about that
psychopath.
because
He's getting off on that.
you can talk about that because we've got the scene where they've got Steve tied up, and he's literally
Yeah.
forcing them all to take turns in stabbing him and cutting him.
And that is brutal, that bit. Like the
Oh,
knife in the mouth, you know, you're like,
the
fucking
knife
hell.
in the mouth is probably the worst one. Well, at least in that scene, because there's a few other scenes where you're like, oh, you fucker. Like, I'm not one to wince like and cringe too much about what happens in horror movies, but there's a couple of scenes in this one where you do sort of go ooh, and the knife in the mouth is definitely one of them. But during that scene, obviously, he's getting Paige to record everything that's happening. And this is where I say, the blame maybe doesn't quite lie with the rest of the kids quite as much because they're being blackmailed. It's peer pressure and they're being blackmailed.
Yeah. He's basically the ringmaster getting them to do all that shit to him. He's getting off on it. You can see that the way he's acting, the way it's really well acted the way he does it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he plays that psychopath bully cunt very, very well.
Yeah.
And he's using that we look after our own thing that they've learned from their parents in that group to manipulate them.
Yeah.
And that's like when she comes to when they're about to set her on fire, that's when you notice they're like, oh fuck, what the smell and all that. You know, you're like, fucking hell, you know?
Yeah. But that's the thing, there's multiple points in this movie where you can see the rest of the group trying to back out. Where they're casting doubts and they're raising their concerns and they're voicing the fact that this is wrong and everything else. But it's him that is the driving force behind it. He's the one that's saying, and it's interesting because this is what bullies and cowards do, isn't it? Because he's got the video, and so when they try and back out later, he turns around to them and goes, "Well, I didn't stab him. You stabbed him. Look, we've got it on video. It was you that did it, not me."
Aye. And that's the thing that fucks them up.
Yeah. And then you obviously brought in like learned behavior. I find it really interesting that during that final scene, just as the movie's about to end, which we'll talk about the final scene itself because that's a fucking kick in the nads as well, isn't it? During that final scene, the fathers, you can see the exact same behaviors in all of them, because when you've got the ringleader, I can't remember the name of the fathers, but you've got the ringleader, and the other ones are essentially saying, no, we need to get the police involved. They're going to come around, they're going to ask questions. And he's literally there being like, no, like, we'll sort this out. We sort out our own.
It's Brent's dad. I think it's John's his name.
Yeah, I think
that's
right.
He's the one that's like, we look after our own. Because you see him throughout the film as well. He's a fucking cunt. And you can see where his son gets it from. It's just a carbon copy of his dad, except he's the next level of psychopath. That's basically what it is.
Well, but again, this is where we say, like, this is where the sort of moral conundrum comes in, because who's to blame? Is it the kids or the parents? How much?
Well, they always say, is it nature or nurture with psychopaths?
Well, that's it. Like, how much responsibility do the kids take for their behaviors in this movie? I would still say a good fucking chunk, because but I don't know. I was brought up relatively well. Like, I had nice parents, Anyways, hello to Boomer in the chat.
Sorry. If you were out, if you were out, right? You're out with your mates. A group fight happens. Now, this is the closest thing you can probably relate it to. You do not rat out your mates with that. You do not trust the cops enough to say fucking anything to the cops, even if they're on your fucking side, try to fucking do the other cops.
But it's also just like this unwritten rule, isn't it? And not even just in this kind of situation, in whole of society, is that you don't rat on your pals.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? I can understand where they're all coming from, but at the same time, they've followed the wrong person in the group.
Yeah,
is what's happened with them. So it's mainly Brett, but they do have, like, you see each time they've got a chance of getting out. It's not till later on they all are fucking proper stuck and they're all screwed over, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cooper's the one that's like she kills,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like the scared one, the one that's always want to get out, and you see him just trying his hardest to get out.
Yeah. And that's the
But it's
thing.
like
But that's
they're
ultimately.
obviously country kids as well, so they're obviously had a hard upbringing because catching a badger when they've got the badger in the cage, that's not something that city kids could do. You know what I mean?
I'm a city kid.
So
I
you can
couldn't
tell
catch a
these are
badger.
country kids.
Yeah.
Exactly. So these are country kids that have been brought up on different standards. Country kids are different to fucking city kids. They're they're brought up better normally. This is as if they've had a upbringing in like a place like, you know, Maastricht and Tilly and all those sort of places.
Yeah.
They've grew up in a shitty area, but they've been moved out to the country,
Mm-hmm. Um,
which is actually something the Conservatives try to do with people.
ship them
They
out
were
to the
taking folk
countryside.
that had council houses and yeah, shipped them out the countryside.
Yeah.
So it's like that's what this seems like, and I find it funny that folk do say, "Oh, broken Britain" and all that, and yeah, broken Britain. This made it worse.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. No, sorry, I agree.
that's my 2 cents.
Just to catch up on the chat a little bit, hello to Boomer for coming in. Welcome on in. Hope you're enjoying yourself. Boomer says, I think it's also obvious from the end that yes, these kids were brought up with violence, and until you get away from that, it's hard to get away from that lifestyle. And that's it, isn't it? We see throughout this movie, you know,
Yeah,
the abusive nature of this sort of group or this sort of society of parents that we have here. And there's a scene at the beginning of the movie, and it's. I don't want to say you kind of laugh at it, but you do kind of laugh at it. I don't want to say
you do.
you laugh at child abuse. You know what I'm about to say, don't you? You know
Yeah,
you
that kid needs a.
yeah, that's exactly it. There's a moment where Steve turns around, he's complaining about the kids running around screaming, and he's in the middle of literally saying that kid needs a slap, but before he can get to the word slap, the mother slaps the shit out of her daughter. And you can see them both turn around and be like, holy fucking shit, like, why would you do that? You can't do that. But he's literally in the and this is why this is what I'm saying is this is why I don't think this movie is necessarily the comment on the working class in the way that some people think it is. Because Steve, who is portrayed as our
Yeah,
middle class character, had the exact same thought as the working class mother did.
yeah.
She just was
Except
the one
you
who
know,
actually slapped him.
acting on it.
Yeah.
But
So,
the thing is, right? This is a big thing, right? You're not allowed to hit your kids and all that shit. I'm not being a dick here. I was hit when I was a kid, and it was only when I actually did the fucking stupid fucking shit, like really bad
yeah.
shit. I got hit,
I
and
definitely.
it's not like when you get a hit, it's battered to kick the shit out of you. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
a
I
why
definitely.
isn't it fuck up?
I definitely got a few, like. I definitely got a few claps around the lug when I was a kid. I definitely got a few smacks. But again, like you say, it was only ever when I was being a little fucking shit. I don't. Listen, do I agree with smacking children? Absolutely not. I don't think kids should be smacked. Do I think any less of like my parents or the parents of that generation for on the occasion doing it? No, not really. It's a difficult one. But I also do think you have like I feel like people, you know, sometimes are a bit flippant about the whole, you know, that was the way things were at that time sort of phrase, right? And there are certain situations where
Yeah,
that does apply, and you can turn around and be like, no, it doesn't matter what time it was. You know, that shit was always wrong. And, you know, when you're talking about, you know, inappropriate behavior, you know, from like certain aspects, then yeah, you can absolutely throw that. I think when it comes to this sort of instance, though, I think you can go with, you know, it was socially acceptable at the time. You know, it was how you parented at the time, and you know, I don't want to I don't want to be that person, you know, who thinks, oh well, we had it worse, so that the youth of today need to have it just as bad, because that's not right. I was smacked. I was absolutely fine.
no,
Do I think that kids now should be smacked? No. So you know, however, the point being is that again, like I said, it doesn't matter your class. They both had the exact same thoughts. Just one chose to
yeah,
act on it and the other didn't. And therefore, it comes more down to your personal choice at that point rather than what your class is.
Yeah. But see, here's the thing about, right, the hitting the kids thing. This is my 2 cents on this, and a lot of folks think I'm fucking mental for saying this, right? So
Oh
back
God.
then, there wasn't that much stuff you could do to control your kid, right? Because, well, we weren't attached to our phones 24/7. We actually went out and played, you know what I mean? The
Yeah.
only thing you could really do was ground somebody. But if you're going out to work all the time and you're fucking putting a roof over fucking somebody's head, you can't have them grounded all the time. So you've got to come up with something else. That's how hitting came about then. Now nowadays, kids, it's totally different. Fucking, you can easily fucking take their phone off them. You can fucking take their bank card off them. They won't have fucking cash. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's heaps of things you can do to kids nowadays, like to actually punish them other than hit them.
Yeah.
So I think it was a thing for its time when it comes to hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was, you know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No. No. You're making sort of perfect
Right.
sense. Just to catch up
So
again. Sorry. No, I thought you
no,
said.
no, funny.
Just to catch up again with the chat. Anna in the chat, going back to what we were saying earlier about ratting on your friend. She says snitches get stitches. So.
Exactly, and who has not heard that?
I know. So there you go, though. That means like that unwritten rule is worldwide. You know, that is a worldwide written
Yeah,
rule. She comes from another part of the world, and that's the rule, obviously there as well. So Boomer says, but
and it
still,
and it is
sorry.
it is us versus them a lot of the time.
Yeah. Boomer says, still fuck those kids. Fuck them. He says it's more of a
Oh,
commentary.
agreed. The kids are the bad ones in this, 100%.
Yeah, we're more talking
But it's
about
one
what
or
are the
two that you
underlying.
control in the group.
We're talking about underlying causes here. The kids in this still make the choices that they make, and therefore are ultimately responsible for their actions. But what we're talking about here is the underlying causes. It's Boomer also says it's more of a commentary on the circle of violence. Just look at all the hazing incidents on American youth sports teams. You see that as well with frats, don't you? Like especially in that sort of American college culture, and they talk about like it's just like violence and hiding fucking rapists, and it's just horrible.
Yeah.
I also think
Like,
I also
hazing wasn't really a thing over here apart from in work. Like, you didn't really get hazing at college. You don't really get hazing at school and stuff like what they did in America.
mm-hmm,
But see, back when I was first in work,
yeah
like, you only got hazed if you were one of the boys. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
somebody came in, I'm not mentioning names because I know he listens to this, but he's, he's, his mum came into the work to have a word with the gaffer because they hadn't done anything to him.
Because
Like
they
he was
hadn't done
crying at home
anything.
because exactly because the thing is, right, like, so when I started with the hydro, there was things that they used to do. The most common one was they would get you in a boiler suit, they would put a steel conduit through your boiler suit and hang you on something with your arms spread out like that, so you're flat out like that, hanging on something, right? They don't get me wrong, you're probably that much off the floor, but it was a little scary at the time, you know. Everyone descended on you like a pack of dogs, and they did it, and it was a bit of fun. Now they only did that if you were one of the boys. They only did that if they knew you could take it. You know what I mean? So this little shit who refused to tidy up at work. He was an apprentice. He refused to tidy up. I'm not tidying up after other people. They can clean their own mess. That's what he said. Fucking, he was that type of guy. When you're an apprentice, that's your job. So he was just throwing shit in their faces, and they wouldn't do it to him. They actually wouldn't crucify him. They wouldn't do fuck all to him. There's other stuff which I won't repeat because it's very illegal. But there was heaps of stuff that we used to do, and he got none of it done to him. And his mum came in and actually had a word with the gaffer, and the gaffer's like, "I can't believe I'm going to say this to you, but fit is a problem. He's a wank." Was fit was the first thing said, and the thing is, he was in the room when they said it.
For fuck's sake. Oh dear.
So yeah, he understood where he stood. So the hazing thing was genuinely, you only did it to guys that were one of the guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hazing thing's a bit weird, but I'd never experienced it until I was basically working.
How did you get
Whilst
hazed,
you look at
Nico?
everywhere else in the world, I got the crucifixion, yeah. I got that, yeah.
Oh dear.
I got the crucifixion quite early on, to be honest, and because they couldn't catch me, because I was a little shit, I used to run. Because they couldn't catch me, they put it through the leg of a boiler suit and the arm of a boiler suit, so I was stuck up like that.
Oh
Like,
dear. Oh.
basically, my knee and my elbow was almost touching like that. Like, yeah, I'm stuck. Yeah, this is not a good thing.
Oh dear. Boomer says, I always love these personal Nico stories. They're always going to be like, oh my.
It's not that. Right. So I'm not saying where I was working at the time, but one of the initiations was they would tie your feet to the bottom of the van when it was about that thick of snow, and you know the field next to like it. Torrey, you grew up there. You know the field out the back of the Torrey Battery where the big like lighthouse is and the
Yeah, yeah,
foghorn
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah.
You know that massive field, right? So that's packed with snow. They would put you in a thermal boiler suit, which is padded to fuck, drive you up and down there one time, so you are drenched in snow, you are freezing cold, and then chuck you back in the van and give you a fresh bit and go, I get changed and away back to work, you're fine. Now they only did that to folk that like. Could you imagine if you did that to somebody nowadays? They'd be like, they kidnapped me, they dragged me behind the vehicle, I nearly died.
Yeah. Yeah. Krista in the
So
chat
yeah,
says not all fraternities really do that here, but when they go wrong or someone gets hurt, then it gets so much attention. That's the thing, isn't it? Like I think that's the thing with any of these sorts of things. It's when they go wrong, isn't it? And that's how it can be portrayed. And it is, but it's but that is a very good reflection on this kind of movie as well, because there is a heavy criticism, I think, on working class people, and there can be an attack on working class people from the government and things, and how you choose to parent, because it's when you get a few bad eggs, and in this group we've got the bad eggs who are abusive, who are drug users, which we will bring up as well, because that also gets shown in this movie, who are violent, who have been to prison, and this is the result of that. That's what gets the media attention, the tens and hundreds of thousands of other families, other good working class families around the country who have decent jobs, who work fucking hard to put food on their kids' tables. When I was little, there was times where my mum and dad didn't have meals so that I could have a meal, but they worked their
my mother did the same.
Yeah, they worked their fucking arses off. My mum and dad have worked every fucking day they can for all throughout all their years, and now they live out in out in the Shire and have like a nice house, and you know what, they've fucking worked and they've earned it, but that doesn't get the media coverage, does it? It's the fucking the kids who have asbos, and it's the kids who have got tags, and that's what gets your fucking media attention.
But the thing about it is, right, the working class ones, the asbos, the kids that do all this shit, they're the ones that don't have a decent lawyer that could have probably got them off.
Yeah.
And I'm not being a dick. I've met middle class folk that are like these people who you wouldn't trust with anything.
Yeah.
You wouldn't trust them with a dog, let alone a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those people get away with fucking stupid shit just because they got money behind them to get themselves out of it. And that's why I find it funny when they go, oh, this stuff never happens in upper class. This stuff never happens in middle class.
Mm-hmm.
Of course it does. It's just that it gets covered up by them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like an example, when I was a bouncer in town, there was 3 guys kicked the shit out of one guy. Poshest accents you've ever seen. And they did it. And the coppers, when they came there, they were giving their statements, and they made out that this guy had basically half killed the 3 of them. He had his mates there, but they managed to chase his mates away. Now, I'm sorry, but A, working class mates don't fucking run.
Yeah.
And B, it was 100% them that fucking started it. And they were asking the guy for a fag when it started. And the coppers got the statements for us. And they still got off with it, even so fucking we said it was them that started it,
Yeah.
That's just the difference a decent solicitor will do.
Yeah, yeah.
So it is
Again,
one of those class things where it has been.
and yeah, like you've seen that discussed as well, like throughout society, when especially when people are discussing things like prison populations and stuff like that, and they say, you know, oh, it's so heavily skewed towards the working class, and that's where your point comes active, doesn't it? Because it's absolutely right. You know, if your
Yeah.
ability to afford, you know, a good solicitor, a good lawyer, you're far more likely to be able to get off with either a lighter sentence or get off altogether from whatever it is that you've decided to do. And therefore that's why, you know, your prisons are full of working class people. That's why there's, you know, race disparity in amongst that as well, you know. So it's definitely a point that's worth making too. Again,
Yeah.
sorry, so that we've got,
And you've got to remember the golden rule. The fuck
don't
is
eat yellow
right.
snow.
Every court in every no, the every court in every land is not there to find the truth, like they always say. They're there to go by what the most common likely truth is. So it doesn't mean to say that the right person is getting done. That is what
Yeah,
every court in the land does.
yeah,
And that's disturbing.
yeah. We're getting into conspiracy theories now, Nico.
That's not conspiracy, that's just true.
Anyways, catching up
You
with
got to remember the solicitors, they're there to go, oh, this could have happened. You don't hear them say this is exactly what happened
yeah,
because you can never guarantee that's exactly what happened.
yeah. Anyways,
So it's that whole thing.
catching up with the chat a bit because there's some really good points being made and thrown out there. Krista says that you know, on the point of, you know, it's the bad eggs that get the sort of headlines. She's like, exactly, it's good working class people, but it doesn't just apply to that. She also says, you know, good police officers, good people in government, even though that's maybe a bit rarer, they don't get the good press. You know, they don't get talked about all the time. It's the bad eggs, isn't it? It's the, you know, they're the ones who get all the coverage. And that's when you get things like, you know, oh, all cops are pigs, all you know, working class people are stupid, all working class people are lazy, or what, things like that, you know. That's when, you know, you get that sort of wide sweeping statements, and I can absolutely see why there's pushback on those sorts of statements. And that doesn't just go for that as well, that goes for, you know, race issues, that goes for class issues, that goes for gender issues, you know. I think it literally applies to every single societal issue that's absolutely out there. Boomer also says,
Yeah.
I agree. I don't think it's everyone, of course, but it definitely was prevalent where he grew up. For the first football away game, it was tradition for seniors to flog the freshmen in the back of the bus. It's not a sexual thing, by the way, and I did have my butt crack glued shut with glue spray you'd use to seal wraps.
Fuck.
Oh, kids, he says.
That's mental. Like, there was a thing at my school, first year beatings, but fucking that basically happened to kids that had older brothers.
Yeah.
And it would be their older brothers grabbed them a room when they got their first year beatings.
Yeah.
See the kids that didn't have older brothers and sisters. Never happened to hardly any of them.
My sister was 10 years older than
So
me,
yeah,
so even though
it was weird.
even though she was at a different school, I could always use my older sister as like a threat because she was 10 years older than us. So like I'd be sitting there, it's like an 8-year-old in like P3, and my sister's in fucking like 6th year, and I'd just be like, I'll get my fucking sister on you bastards. A bunch of fucking 8-year-olds, you know, being threatened with an 18-year-old. Oh dear.
Just your sister coming in like the Hulk.
She would as well. Okay, so moving on, because we've been talking for ages about this, and we've still barely scratched the surface of this movie.
Yeah. Just the glass part we're going on about.
There's also a mentality in this movie as well that I think it's important to sort of talk about, and it's this whole sort of not my kids mentality. You know, these are words that explicitly get spoken, you know. And again, it goes to that thing about sort of people shirking personal responsibility for their actions. And I think in this instance, you know, these kids have clearly grown up without any proper structure or potential consequence for their actions. You know, they haven't had to take responsibility for their actions. I fully believe these kids have grown up taking fucking beatings and, you know, growing up around violence and drugs and etc. etc. So in a way there's that sort of consequence to their actions, but not in terms of like an official sense. And I think that whole not my kids mentality as well, you look at that and I think that's the parents being in denial of their influence on how their kids are behaving.
I think it's the opposite. I think she knows that her kids has done it, and she's like, not my
No, no, no,
kids,
no, no,
as
no,
in
no,
you
no,
go to
no.
the cops.
Oh no, no. I'm sorry. Maybe I said that wrong. She's in denial. So I believe she knows it's her kids, but she's in
Aye.
denial about the role she's played.
Oh, got you, aye. No, I got you, aye. So, aye. Yeah, that makes total sense. I thought you were meaning as in she
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah, no,
think
no,
it was
no.
her kid that did it.
I maybe misspoke there.
Got it.
But and and again, you know, this is an issue that just transcends class as well, because there is that I love that your cat's just licking her arsehole on the camera.
It's not her arsehole, it's her tail.
Oh, okay. Just
I can pan down and show you,
no, you're all
but it is
right.
actually her tail. Look, see?
I just love seeing, you know, that little leg in the air in the head bob.
She keeps
You know,
resting on my arm.
you know what,
She keeps
Nico?
doing
Actually,
this, put it on my arm.
actually, look, given the positioning of your camera and the way it looks kind of dodgy.
Don't listen to him.
Quick hello
He's
to Zog.
being mean.
A quick hello to Zoggle in the chat. Thank you so much for coming in. Welcome on in. If you have anything to say about Eden Lake, please let us know. We're currently discussing the movie. But yeah, right.
You missed that.
Let's.
Tickle.
I'm just ignoring you now. Um,
Mwah.
let's talk about some of the specifics of the movie, right? Because we've talked a lot about the themes and what this movie stands for, but let's get into the actual movie as well. We kind of briefly mentioned, you know, one of the scenes earlier. This movie's fucking brutal.
Yeah.
Like
this is up there in torture porn style, is it? It's like the torture stuff that's happening in this is like top notch, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. It makes you want to go, oh god, no, nah, fuck that. Like, see if they go, oh, cut him, and he does the little tiny cut, I'm like, oh, this has gotta be shit.
yeah.
And he's like, no, cut him deeper, and he does it, and you're like, this has got to escalate very, very quickly.
The thing is,
and then when it's sticking in his mouth, fuck.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because you like that scene in particular. It's so long and drawn out, isn't it? Like they really drag that scene out. Like you say, you get that moment where you see him get the small cut, and you're like, right, okay. And then it keeps going, and then they all take turns, and it takes so long, and then it just finishes off with that whole sticking the knife in his mouth, and it's just it is difficult to watch.
Cut his tongue off, and he doesn't even go to cut his tongue off. He just sticks it in and rattles it. You're like, what the fuck?
That's almost worse.
Yeah,
I'd say that's almost worse though. Like,
but I like in this because the two main folk that are being hunted normally play very strong characters.
Yeah.
Both of them play very strong characters and stuff. Like they're probably most famous for playing strong characters. And in this, they're not strong at all. They're constantly trying to run. Even when she like nuts up and stabs the kid.
Yeah.
She's still like, it's lucky she got him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's fucked up. Like,
I think Boomer's maybe confusing one of our main characters, because he says Loki finally gets what he deserves in this film. Michael Fassbender didn't play Loki.
No.
Sorry, Boomer. That's not Loki.
That's Magneto, mate.
But you know,
that's the new Magneto.
Yeah.
That's
the
right. Nazi hunter Magneto.
Oh, he's like, oh, that's right.
That's the Nazi hunter Magneto.
But you know, it's not just that scene though, is it? Like, there's also, well, where do we start? We'll start with the spike going through Jenny's foot, and her pulling.
Yeah, this is another bit I've been told, right? Folks say that could never happen.
What, a spike going through her foot?
Aye, because like you know how she's following the power lines going to the city?
Yeah.
That bit of metal could easily have broke off of that. The thing is, you used to get folk doing line checks, because I worked for the Hydro, so I know about this. So you used to get them walking along looking for bits that were in broken bits of the cable.
Yeah.
So you'd basically get paid to walk along those lines where she was,
Mm-hmm.
and you always had to have your safety boots on, even though over here we clear it a lot better than what that one is.
Yeah.
And what that is bits of metal and bits of cramps and clips and everything that have broke off and snapped up and rusted, you know?
Yeah.
So you would see that all the time, and folk are like, "Aye, if she was walking along there, they're in the middle of nowhere. How'd that bit of metal get there? From the fucking line, you idiot! You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you
No,
can't work it out, or something wrong with you."
I don't get that train of thought that couldn't happen. That absolutely could happen. And then it's just sort of brutal watching her like having to pull it out, and it's a fucking chunky bit of metal. Like it would leave just a fucking.
And she does it the right way.
Yeah.
She does it the right way. So if you ever get a spike or anything in your body and it's went through, you're not meant to actually pull it back out the
No,
way that
you're
it
meant
went
to
in.
pull it through.
Yeah, because you pull it through, there's more chance that you won't get a fragment in there.
Yeah, because
Whilst if you get a fragment, that's what fucked you up.
Yeah. Anyways.
So yeah, she does it the right way. So I'm like actually impressed when she does it the right way. You know what I mean?
It's clicked for Boomer. He's gone, that was Tom Hiddleston. It's not the first or 20th time my ignorance has been also on display. He says he also thought that It Follows and It Chapter 2 was the same thing. You think It Follows was just like It Follows after Chapter 1? But yeah, the foot scene is not the only scene as well. Let's talk about burning the kid alive.
Yeah, that is so fucked up, that bit.
Well,
the thing is...
Sorry.
You talk about the hazing thing, he's fucking got her caught trying to get into the gang, you know what I mean? And you can blatantly tell that these guys are racist as fuck. They don't give a shit about the kid. And then they're like, if you don't come back, we'll set him alight. I think they were going to do that anyway, because before he even shouts that, they're putting the tire over his head. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's so fucked up. And you see it as well. You see the fucking body walking away with the fucking flames coming off of it.
Yeah, I do kind of like, obviously you see that, but it's kind of background blurry. You don't obviously get close up of that. Well, the thing for me is, and I'm hoping it was the actual kid who acted this. It's the screaming in that one.
Yeah,
like it's proper fucking
it's mental.
It's proper rough. That is such a difficult scene to get through. Like, I don't like kids. Yeah. I fucking hate kids. I absolutely despise kids with a passion. But even
You couldn't eat a whole one.
No. I usually get to the legs and then I'm like, oh, I'm stuffed. But that scene, I was just... even for me, that scene was difficult.
I think it makes it worse as well because the kid's got learning difficulties. You know, it's like you feel sorry for him more.
Yeah.
Even though he's the one that's got her fucking caught. You know what I mean?
Well, that's it. But again, it goes back to that
and whole... the thing is, again, it forces him.
Yeah.
Again, Brett forces him to set them on fire.
Yeah. It completely goes back to that whole sort of peer pressure argument that we were talking about earlier, doesn't it? That's such a big factor into this movie, is that blackmail peer pressure that he's put on. So yeah. Yeah. That's for me, that's probably the toughest one for me. Scene in this movie. But then you got this whole sort of let's talk about the ending, shall we?
So the ending, right? That's the thing about the ending. A lot of folk are like, that would never happen, to call the cops straight away. You can't fit they've said to the parents.
Yeah.
Because for the parents are screaming at her, they're like, you're a sick fuck, you've killed the kids, you're doing all this.
She only killed two of them.
Exactly. And the thing is, fucking, what's happened in that, they've obviously said that she's some sort of like a child killer, fucking, or something along that lines.
Yeah.
So they're like, right, we're definitely looking after our own, because, as I said, the working class, those guys would say, well, she's got enough to get out of this. She'll get his community service. And you'd hear folks say that all the time.
Mm-hmm. You hear that,
especially about folk.
But you hear that, like, if you listen to any sort of public interest, like, radio station where people call in, anything that's political, you hear people have these sorts of arguments all the time. All the time you hear people like this. And it's not always just working class people as well. It's all varieties of people. You hear these points of view all the time.
Like, Right, perfect example. We'll use the most famous fucking pedo in history, Jimmy Savile.
Oh,
Right,
good. Oh,
he
good.
got
Let's talk about
he.
pedos on this podcast. Thanks, Nico.
No, but I'm just saying, right? He got away with it for years and years and years, and how he got away with it was one thing and one thing only. He was making money for charities, and he had royal connections.
Yeah. It's power
Also,
and
it couldn't be
influence,
him.
isn't it?
Exactly. Now, the higher up you are, the more chance you'll get away with shit.
Yeah.
But yet, the lower down you are, he'd have got fucking caught with the first one that put a fucking report in against him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
It's not like he's a priest and he'd get moved to fucking another place.
Yeah. Well, it's also the thing as well, isn't it? Because
Controversial.
they're hey, um, good pedos, fucking, the Catholics. Any other groups that you want to bring up? Let's talk about some Nazis while we're at it. You've mentioned them already as
I'm
well.
not specifying. I'm not specifying Catholics. The Proddies did it too. It's just priests in general are Catholic.
Jesus.
Like, pedo priests are a thing in most churches, and there's a reason for that.
Oh dear. Oh.
Hey, I've got nothing against Catholics or Protestants.
I hope we're allowed to talk.
Together. Bye.
I hope we're allowed to talk about this on Twitch. This stream's actually not been broadcasted for the last 20 minutes, and I've just no noticed. No, we're still live. We're still live. We're good.
Okay.
So
Nazis,
but there's also
right,
and
the Nazi.
The Nazi.
I'm joking.
Yeah. So, anyways, moving on from that, the final scene, obviously, for those who are unaware, she thinks she's found safe. Actually, you know what? Going back to that as well, we're saying she only kills 2 kids, right? One of the kids she kills because it's self-defense, isn't it? Like, he sneaks up on her. She believes that he's about to attack her. I don't think he was. I think he was potentially going to go help her. But she believes, obviously, he's sneaking up to attack her. She turns around and stabs him in the neck.
Yeah.
Justifiable, I would say.
But I'd say at that point, yeah, because all the kids have tried to set her on fire since she's been alive.
However,
and that's one of the nicest things that's happened to her.
However, the second kid that she kills, the girl, Paige, she makes the conscious choice. She doesn't have to kill her. She makes the conscious choice to put that fucking foot down and mow her down in the van.
Yep, and I agree with that choice.
But it's not that though, but she could have made the choice not to do it, because at this point as well, she believes she's getting away. When she kills
I agree with that choice.
No, that's fine, but you get what I'm saying here. So, like, when she kills the first kid,
I know
the kid who's been in, I can't remember his name, but the kid who's been in every fucking, like, skinhead English fucking, drama series, just famous for being that skinhead English kid in all fucking.
He's Cooper in this, and I think he's got like an English name as well, like Thomas or Tom or something like that. Begins with a T. Timothy. Probably Timothy.
Timothy.
But yeah, Timothy.
Timothy's. Tim's not that posh a name.
Timothy.
Anyways.
But yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So in that instance, she's still in the thick of it, isn't it? So she's not necessarily getting away. She's still like.
It's Thomas.
It's Thomas. She's but she's still like
Thomas.
She's still trying to escape.
How posh is this? Wait. How posh is this? Thomas Turgoose.
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 Anyways, yeah, she's still in the thick of it at that point, so she's not escaped. She's fighting for her life. Whereas the second kid that she kills, it's a conscious choice to kill her that she doesn't have to make. She believes she's escaped, and that's where that whole "oh, you're a monster" could come into play.
True, but fuck it. They've been trying to kill you the whole fucking movie. Turn it, ruin them. That's what I agree with.
And anyways, though, as the ending goes on,
and the thing is, Paige is a cunt, because when they're on fire, right? Everybody else is turning and puking their guts up, doing all that.
Well, this is
she's getting off it as much as Brett.
But this is what I want to talk about as well, because when all the kids are being videoed, taking turns stabbing him and doing all their things, it's Paige that's doing the videoing. So she's not actually in.
And she never flinches.
She's not actually in any of the videos. So she could get out technically at any point she wants. She doesn't
Yeah,
have like they don't have that same level of blackmail over her that they do over
yeah.
the rest of the gang. But she chooses to stay
Uh,
up until the
and
very
that's the
end.
thing about it.
But
Yeah. So when all that happens, like that's the thing as well. Like I love the ending where it's in the motor and the brother's the one
yeah,
there, because that makes total sense. They're the only cunts in the forest, so therefore the only cunt that's got to be looking for anyone is somebody related to them.
yeah,
But when she crashes and gets out, and it's that Hale barbecue and like swimming pool, and they're all the parents are having fun because the kids are out. You're
yeah,
like, she might have made sanctuary here, and then
yeah,
you realize very very quickly that it's their parents,
yeah.
which is fucked up.
Which, well, that yeah, then you get the ending where all the dads take her into the bathroom, and we obviously don't see what happens. We can just assume they kill her. Um,
Oh yeah, guaranteed they're going to be killing her. They're going
but
to be making a mess and making it last. But
well,
that's
that's
the
what I'm
thing,
saying.
because
Like,
the
but
dad that's controlling it, he's fucking like he's like, well, just go take a shower, love, and you're like, oh fuck, this has got to be sick, and then it cuts,
yeah,
and I'm glad it cut it there because you don't really want to see the
no,
parents kill her.
no, that was a good choice to cut there. Yeah, I agree with you there. It's fucking bleak
Because then your
though.
mind wanders, you know.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah,
We're left to like yeah, we can assume that they kill her, but what we don't know is what happens in between them taking her into the bathroom and her actually dying.
yeah. You don't know how bad it actually gets.
Yeah, and I think I think we can leave it at that. I don't think we need to go into details about. I think everyone can use their own imagination and come up with a variety of different things. Um,
But
but
that's the thing with that. It makes it whatever your worst nightmare is, that's happened to her.
mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Which
Anyways,
I quite like that ending because of that. I
any,
think it's a smart ending
yeah. Anyways, we'll talk about
because it's just creepy enough before the cut. Him going, "Come on, love, we'll take a shower."
yeah.
It's just creepy enough.
And then you've got that sort of final image of Brett just looking in the mirror with the aviators on, whilst you just hear the
Yeah,
screaming in the background. And it's almost like this is
yeah,
completely normal for him.
yeah. And then he's deleting the videos to
Yeah,
cover his arse as well.
yeah. So it's yeah, it's an incredibly bleak ending, but
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, I don't think this film would have been as hard hitting had it been like a good ending. I think this film needed a bleak ending.
yeah.
So, anyways,
It needed an ending like that. I think.
yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways,
it's very good.
I've just got I've just got another couple of quick points before we move on. Obviously, Nico, if you've got any other points as well, because we've spent a good chunk of time talking about this now. Like, I was about sometimes I get there's sometimes see when we're reviewing movies, sometimes I sit there and I think, oh, like I'm not sure if we're gonna have like this might be a shorter episode than normal, and part of me thought that this might be a shorter episode than normal, but I think we're running long, so.
Oh, okay.
I mentioned it briefly earlier, but there is an element of drug abuse that's suggested in this movie. When you go back to the kid Cooper, who wants to back out, he keeps
Yeah,
complaining that
sniffing the glue, is it not?
is it glue? It's either glue or like poppers or I don't fucking know. It's something. It's a little jar, isn't
I
it?
thought it was glue.
So I would say it's probably
Yeah,
glue. You know, we
could be poppers.
could be poppers. But we would assume that that's behavior learned from the parents as well.
Yeah. Saying that, I know kids that their parents didn't touch fuck all, but because they were peer pressured into it, they've taken.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely know.
So it could be that too.
I definitely know people like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, no, but like they're you
My mother's teetotal and I drink alcohol, you know?
yeah, 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 same.
That's all I've ever done.
Yeah, same, Nico.
Yeah.
That's and
Yeah.
maybe just like once a year at Christmas.
Yeah, see, I like, you worked with me. I was always sober when I was working.
We've been on many nights out together, Nico. We like a bevy.
No, but when I was working, was I ever drinking?
What? Sorry, you asked
When
me a
I was
question.
working, when I was DJing,
Uh-huh.
yeah, when I was working, was I ever drinking at the time?
Every single second. You'd literally sit there.
Are you driving? Cheers.
You'd literally be there changing songs with one hand and your fucking pint in the other.
No.
In fairness, now that I do a pub quiz and now I do my little bit of DJing, I'm exactly the same. I have a cider in one hand and the microphone in the other. Boomer says, quickly, delete the videos. It's fine, we don't publish our videos. Our videos go unpublished. Anyways.
Like it.
One last thing I want to say. One thing I kind of like about this movie as well is that the kills are sort of spread out amongst people. Like, it's not just one particular person that kills people. So you've got Steve, who he gets a kill. He kills the dog.
Yeah.
So he gets the dog.
Which, I'm not being a dick. It is understandable the dog getting stabbed because fucking it's biting his leg.
He also didn't mean it.
Exactly.
It's also not
his. To stab boy the kids.
It's also not his knife. They brought the knife to the fight.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
You've got Steve's actual death.
Don't take a knife to a dog fight.
You've got Steve's death, which is performed by the entire group. You've got Adam, who gets burned alive by them. Jenny kills Cooper and Paige. Brett kills one of the members who tries to back out. He beats them to death.
Yeah.
So all of these deaths, though, you just know, because this ties into the final scene where they're calling her a monster as well. They will have blamed her for every single one of those deaths.
Her and him, I guarantee it.
Yeah. And that's why the parents think that she's such a monster.
Yeah. And the worst thing is, she says, I'm sorry to the mother. And you're like, that's just confirmed that you're going to die. Because as soon as you say that, you're admitting you're a monster and all these cunts are going to band together and get you. Because that's all they need to latch onto and say, well, it wasn't our kids, it was all you.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways.
Which is brutal.
Yeah. Nico, do you have any other points about Eden Lake that you want to bring up?
Nah. I think we've covered basically everything.
We've covered a lot. So, yeah, I think... obviously, if you have any other points that you would like to talk quickly about in the chat, feel free, and we'll try and tie them in later in the episode. But I think for us, we will move on now, because, like I say, time is starting to get on. And we'll talk about a little bit of trivia.
Well, I do have one piece of trivia that we're talking about doing a second one of these.
Okay.
And it was going to be girls instead of the guys doing it. So it would have been a group of girls doing the same thing.
Okay.
And I'm like, that would have been fucking brutal.
That'd have been interesting, at least, anyway.
Yeah. So could you imagine, instead of all these boys doing it, it was girls that were pre-teens doing this to a couple. It would be fucking hell.
Yeah. Anyways, Boomer also says, you don't say sorry, you say that shit got what was coming to them. There's not, you know what, actually, I was kind of surprised that I could barely find any fucking trivia on this movie. Like, this is going to be a really fucking short trivia section. This is not even according to IMDb, because I had to fucking hunt. I tried to hunt high and low for the finances on this, and I managed to get the grossed, but I couldn't get the budget. So please take this budget with a pinch of salt, because it's from Wikipedia.
Oh, Jesus.
So
it was made for a $5.
According to Wikipedia, this movie had a budget of $2 million.
I don't believe that.
And according to IMDb, this movie grossed $3.9 million. Did this movie get I don't remember this movie really when it came out. I don't think it got a wide cinema release, did it?
I never saw it in a cinema, but I remember folk were talking about it, and I saw it on DVD. It was one of them DVDs that folk were sharing with each other. Not that it was a pirate, obviously. So I must emphasize it was not a pirate, honest. So it was one of those ones where it used to get passed around and everyone watched it, basically.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think it's yeah, and that's probably why it didn't, get a sequel. It made no fucking money.
Well, no, there was talk of doing a sequel, but I think it just fell through. I think they
Yeah.
couldn't get the same director or the same writer. I can't remember which way around it was.
Yeah. Anyways, the only other couple of pieces of trivia I have, one of them, they're not even really bits of trivia. This was nominated and won several awards along the sort of film circuit. Kelly Riley won several Best Actress awards, including the 2008 Fright Meter Award. It was nominated in 2009 Scream Awards for Best Foreign Movie. It's always really weird to me that British films are classed as foreign movies.
Well, we are foreign to everyone else that's not from Britain, you know.
No, I know, but like it just feels it feels weird to me, right?
It's like see if a French film is in the Cannes Film Festival, it's not a foreign film.
Oh,
Just saying.
Yeah, so Best Supporting Actor, Jack O'Connell also won for Best Supporting Actor who played Brett. You mentioned that earlier about, so there's some really great performances in here, and I think his performance is probably the big standout for me. That's what he gave a really good fucking role. The only other piece of trivia that I have, on multiple occasions they refer to Bonnie the dog as a girl, but in several shots you can very clearly see that Bonnie is a boy.
Yeah, I was away to say.
But she is not a girl dog. She is a wee boy dog. Anyways,
well, she maybe identifies as a girl dog. You never know.
You never know. Do you have any other bits of trivia? Because that's literally all I have.
The only other bit I had was you can definitely see the bollocks.
Yeah.
Was what I was going to say, yeah.
Anyways, right, let's move on to our final segment then. And we'll talk about the ratings and the reviews.
Oh. Excuse me.
Am I boring you, Nico?
No, right. See if both cats are here, fucking, it puts me to sleep. That's all I'm saying. When they both purr.
Oh, okay. When they're purring on you, okay.
Yeah.
According to
this one here,
as always, we'll start off with the critics' scores. IMDb gave this movie a 6.7 out of 10. Metacritic gave it a 6.5. Nico, what do you think the Rotten Tomatoes critics and the Rotten Tomatoes audience scored this movie?
What do you think it was, Shira? Come on, tell me. Can you hear her purr?
No.
Well, that sucks. Critics were quite high in it, so I'll say about 69.
Hey.
Just because I can. And I'll say audience about 58.
Okay. I mean, you're not a million miles away, but you've underestimated both. The critics were high on this. The critics scored this 80%.
Jesus, I didn't think it was that high.
And the audience scored it 66%. So you were right, but just like a notch
10 away.
A notch below. A notch below.
Yeah.
Critics' consensus, a brutal and effective British hoodie horror that, despite the cliches, stays on the right side of scary. One thing I also forgot to mention when you're talking about disgusting scenes, very quickly, the scene where she's in the fucking bin.
I love that they open and go,
yeah.
She's in the fucker, you know what I mean?
I know. Boomer in the chat also says, it's a good episode when a third of the trivia involves dog genitals. Yeah.
It's the dog's bollocks.
Hey. See what you did there. Anyways, as always, we throw it out to you guys, our followers and listeners, asking for your scores and opinions on the movies that we review. And so, Boomer, from Podcast in the Woods, I'm assuming this was Boomer. It might have been Gabby, because it's just from the Podcast in the Woods account. Gives it a 7 out of 10. It's definitely a brutal and well-acted film that has a fitting downer ending. However, it also has kids, and worse, kids who are arseholes. I know objectively that's not something to ding a movie for, but I can't help it. Yes, you're supposed to hate them, but having to spend so much time with the little shits brings the whole experience down a bit. LRJ Allen, a friend of the show, who's been on one of our bucket list horror episodes, gives it a 9 out of 10. It's terrific, grueling, and I never want to see it again. The Retro Reject gives it a 7, racks up the tension good, and all the characters are fairly realistic. Third act is great, but it's not the type of movie I'd watch multiple times for shits and giggles. Belle Morrigan gives it says, on my letterbox I'd rated it 3 out of 5, so I'd give it a 6 out of 10. As well filmed and paced as it is, it cannot be divorced from its inherent classism, which to me sullies the bleakness of the intended messaging. And finally, Once Upon a Nightmare podcast says, loved it, an 8, but also living in the UK, I wish I'd never seen it, it's brutal. I think there definitely is that aspect, because I've now watched this a few times, because I've reviewed this for other podcasts as well. And this is a film that I think I'm done with this film now. I think I've watched this film 3 times now. And I think I'm now at the point where I never really want to watch this film again. Not because it's a bad film. I have no need. I have no wish to see it.
It's one of those, as I said, the first time I watched it was great. And then that was it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I watched it again, and the only thing I laughed at that I didn't remember was the 2 folks shagging in the toilet, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When
I
she's,
forgot about that.
herself in the toilet. But that's the thing, right?
We've all been there, Nico.
Yeah, we have. So, like, that's the only bit that made me laugh was fucking how nicey nice the parents, well, the mothers were.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to basically one of the guys isn't giving a fuck about the dame that's been hunted the whole night. He's getting fired into his missus or somebody else's missus, you don't know, in the bathroom. You know what I mean? Did make me chuckle.
Yeah, definitely. Anyways, the listeners' combined score gives the Eden Lake an average of 6.7 out of 10. And so, therefore, Nico, that just leaves me and you on a scale of 0 to 10. What will you rate? What would you rate Eden Lake?
I'll give it a 7.5. It's well acted. I like seeing the 2 main folk that are being chased, who normally play strong characters, actually playing somebody that's being hunted for a change. You know,
yeah.
I liked definitely the one that plays Brett is the best actor in it. Everything in it is good, apart from, as you said, the rewatch value is 0.
Yeah. Well, Nico. This is one of those rare occurrences.
You're away to change your score now.
No, I am also going to give this a 7.5 out of 10.
Same reasons?
Exactly the same reasons. I think this is a great film. I think it's got everything you want from a good sort of spooky thriller drama horror film. It's got some real gruesome moments. It's got some real hard-hitting moments. It's got a proper bleak ending. It's well acted. However, like you say, the rewatch value of this is absolutely 0. You watch this once and it's done. I don't have huge negatives. That's a pretty big one for me. But all of that combined just means I would never ever put this in that top tier of horror movies. But it's still a great one that if people want to watch it, I would certainly recommend that they go watch it, but just with the caveat that they're only going to want to watch it once. So, 7.5 out of 10 for me.
Exact same as what you said.
Krista says, I've never seen the movie, but I rate the episode a 10 out of 10. Well, thank you, Krista. Me and Nico, we rate all of our episodes 10 out of 10. You know, we're just too... Nico, we're... excuse me?
There's a couple of times where I went, that's an 8.
Are these the ones that you've not been on?
Well, they go down to a 7, but I would
7.
I'm just being about we're both on.
I'll tell Anna that. Boomer's been on episodes where you've not been on. Boomer, are you gonna sit there and take this slander in the chat?
Sit there, take that. Yes, he will.
Anyways, all of our scores. Anna's in the chat just saying I just heard that. So Anna, are you gonna sit there and take that? You're lucky Candy's not in the audience as well. Boomer says he changed his mind. Lost Boys is a 2.
How dare you? Get out. Just go.
Anyways, all of our scores combined with the critics' scores and the listener scores gives Eden Lake an average score of 7.1 out of 10. It means it is in 38th place of the now 86 movies that we have covered on the podcast. It is one place above The Conjuring and one place below Child's Play.
I'd rather watch Child's Play than that.
Well, that's...
Oh, hold on. Which Child's Play?
That's cute that you think that the Child's Play remake is in 37th place.
Thank God it's not. That's all I'm saying.
It's in 75th.
Good, and it should be lower. Right. But yeah, I'd rather watch Child's Play, but then again, I would rather watch this over, what was the other one you said?
The Conjuring.
Yeah. So yeah.
It's interesting though, because it's definitely, it's amongst a good sort of group of movies there. You've got Arachnophobia, a couple of places above it, American Werewolf in London above it, you know, Stud of Echoes, which we reviewed just a few weeks ago, is just a couple of places below it. So, you know, it's in a good group there, I think.
Yeah. That's good.
Anyways, that is going to do it for this week's show. As I said at the beginning, we'll quickly go over what we've got coming up. So up next on the show, Nico, it's your choice of movie, I think. Is it? I don't know. This was your choice, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Is it my choice? I can't fucking remember if I picked it or not.
Should be your one.
It is my choice, and we're going for, shockingly, in all my years of podcasting, a movie that I've never reviewed, and it's probably this could be, you know, we said this when we reviewed The Thing not long ago, but I think this could be a movie that has the potential to really upset that top of the leaderboard, because of the way people are going to say about it. We're reviewing Jaws next week.
See, I think it'll just be outside.
You think it's going to be just, but Jaws is so loved.
Yeah, I'm one of the folk that loves it.
So loved. So I think, let us know what you think about Jaws. Give us your scores for Jaws. In the next couple of days, our threads will be going up across our social media platforms, asking for your scores and opinions on that movie as well. So don't forget, that's on X at Damned Podcast. We're on Facebook and Instagram as Pod of the Damned. Email us at podofthedamned@gmail.com or subscribe to us on Patreon, patreon.com/Pod of the Damned. Nico, I got both of those right spot on this week.
It's because I wasn't putting you off during either one for a change.
That is fun.
I wasn't doing shit like this,
So yeah, Jaws is next week. I'm really looking forward to that. Like I say, I can't believe it's one of those ones that I've just never reviewed. And then we go into spooky season with our 3 Halloween themed movie choices. Our listeners, after casting their votes, have chosen for us to review Terrifier 2. Which I'm happy about, although it's not actually been that long since we reviewed the first Terrifier.
Yes.
But Terrifier 2, so that'll be coming up in a few weeks' time. Terrifier 3 is coming out next year anyway as well, so it's good to get it out of the way. Then we've got my choice for Halloween, which will be Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Nico, I'm sure you've got nothing but nice things to say about that movie. And then we've got Nico, who hasn't actually fucking picked his yet, so get a fucking shift on, Nico, so I can start advertising our Halloween movies.
See, well, last time I fucked up by actually picking one that I hadn't seen yet. Both of us hadn't seen yet.
Aye, and it was a fucking shitter.
I know, so I don't know whether to do that again or not.
Well, what have you got? What have you got, like, going through your brain?
Well, okay, right.
I think we can both just say that my Halloween pick last year far surpassed your Halloween pick.
Well, yeah, obviously, but that's because we'd never seen it. We didn't know if it was going to be good or bad.
No, I'd never seen it, and I knew it wasn't going to be good.
I thought it might have been alright.
And you were wrong.
Well, yeah. And that's why I'm picking an Ernest movie next. No,
Funny.
No, I was actually thinking of like maybe doing Hocus Pocus 2 or something like that.
Well, you know what? Actually,
that one.
Actually, that came across. Have you seen it yet?
Yes, I have.
Yeah,
I was very drunk, so I don't remember it.
I've seen it as well, but that was the one I was either gonna pick Halloween 4 or Hocus Pocus 2.
Right, because I was gonna pick that, or I was gonna see something else.
Yeah.
Like I was maybe gonna do a bad one, like what's it called? The Disney one with Eddie Murphy.
Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, I was maybe gonna do that because that is a fucking awful movie.
Well, it's your pick, Nico, so choose whatever the fuck you want.
I'll give you my choice next week, but
Okay.
it'll probably be one of those. Put it that way.
Okay. Right. Yes. Let's We have Anna says, didn't you do Hocus Pocus 2 last year? No, we did Hocus Pocus last year.
Yes,
We've never done Hocus Pocus 2. I don't even think I've done a... Did I do a mini... I think I maybe did a mini-sode on Hocus Pocus 2. I think that's...
Because I think it came out last year, didn't it?
Yeah, it only came out last year, and I did a mini-sode on it, but I think that was it. Me and you never did like a full episode for it. I'm just having a look through my leaderboards to see... Yeah. I did a mini-sode on it when it was released, so we've never actually done a full review on it.
Yeah, I'll probably end up picking that, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
Or the Eddie Murphy one, but
okay.
I'll decide next week. There you go. That's your poll. What do you think Nico should pick?
Well, no, because it's your choice. Like, the poll was for the listener. Do you understand how this fucking works, Nico?
Hey, they might pick Hocus Pocus. I might still pick Haunted House. You can't. I don't give a fuck about the poll. But it's nice to have something.
Nico doesn't give a fuck about what any of you think. Boomer's just like Hocus Pocus 2, the lost episode. I bet there's people out there that wish it was a lost movie, but anyways.
Oh.
Right, let's get fucking out of here because I need to go to work in 10 minutes. Guys, thank you so much to everyone for hanging about in the chat. If you're currently in the chat room and you haven't already done so, please consider hitting that follow and subscribe buttons. It goes a long way to supporting the show and help us make improvements to our show and the things that we do and the things that we can bring for you outside of the actual episodes as well. Don't forget, I stream...
Sorry, like, you know your background you've got with the computer? Every so often when you turn your head, it looks like you got a ponytail. It was just when you like leaned down and turned your head the other way. No, lean down the other way. Yeah, like that, and like it looked like you had a ponytail behind you. It made me chuckle.
Okay.
Because it's just the thought of you with hair. There's that again. It just came up again.
Anyways, please consider hitting that follow button. Subscribe. Don't forget, we don't just do live episode and movie reviews here. We also play video games as well. I've been over the past couple of weeks been playing through Liza P. We're still going to be playing that over the next couple of weeks, but we're also going to be bringing you things like House of Ashes and a couple of other horror games as well. So tune in for those. Stick to us on our social medias that I said earlier as well. And yeah, like, support us doing all that. Don't forget, our horror awards are going to be running for the next month and a half, so thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone for in the chat. Anna, Boomer, Krista, for everyone who's been kicking about in the chat. Zoggle, who was around earlier as well. Z, thank you to everyone for tuning in and interacting with us today. We appreciate all of you. Nico, as always, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me on. And on the gaming thing, you got me playing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I've just started playing that. It's quite good.
Oh, nice. Well, hit me up and we can maybe get some games together, because I've been playing a good bit of that as well.
I've not been playing it that much because I've got hardly any time, but yeah, I'll definitely up for that. Like.
Yeah, no, well, if you ever are playing, send me a message, and we can see if we can get some games together. Because I know, like, Krista, she just messaged in the chat's been playing a lot of it as well, and some others too. So we can definitely get some games together, hopefully, from that as well. Anyways, come back to Killing Season. Anyways, yes. So next week, like I say, we're going to be reviewing Jaws, but hopefully I'll be getting another couple of streams in there between now and then as well, and follow all the threads on social media. But thank you to everyone. Thank you again to Nico. And until next week on the Pod of the Damned, just remember, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't.